This is the Scary Movie Clubcast.
Live from the clubhouse, it's Scary Movie Clubcast! Special Valentine's Day episode!
Yay!
We're filled with love. This is Nadine.
And this is Amanda.
And tonight we watched and read Misery. So Amanda's gonna give us a quick summary.
The story of Paul Sheldon being rescued by his number one fan, psychopath Annie Wilkes. And she basically holds him hostage. And it's...
Yeah, not just basically.
And it's just his struggle of, like, survival and trying anything to get away.
Yeah. So I'm going to give us a few quick book fun facts. There aren't a crazy amount of them, because you know how Stephen King be. He be writing so much. So this one was 4th place in the 1987 bestseller list. It was adapted into a theatrical production that starred Laurie Metcalf and Bruce Willis in 2015. He attributed this to a dream that he had when he was on a flight to London, where he sort of like woke up and he wrote down like the following phrase. He wrote, "She speaks earnestly but never quite makes eye contact. A big woman and solid all through. She is an absence of hiatus. I wasn't trying to be funny in a mean way when I named my pig Misery. No, sir, please don't think that. No, I named her in the spirit of fan love, which is the purest love there is. You should be flattered." So he wrote all that on a napkin when he woke up from this nightmare, like on an American Airlines cocktail napkin, which just sounds adorable. So, of course, you know, since this main character is a writer, people would ask him, like, is this you? And his response was, if you continue to write fiction, every character you create is partly you. I will say, though, what he related to himself about this is that in the book, Sheldon is done writing these misery novels. He really wants to be writing something else. And Stephen King himself had just come out with this book called The Eyes of the Dragon, and his fans hated it because it was like a fantasy book, and they were like, but we like it when you write horror. In the book, the name Misery, you know, it's not just about it being a state of emotion. He said that Annie in the book was sort of like a stand-in for cocaine. Oh, this is just a miscellaneous one, but in the book originally, he was going to have Annie, like, force him to write the book, and then she was gonna bind the book with his skin.
Oh,
So creepy.
I know.
Probably the craziest thing about this is while he was writing Misery, he was getting towards the end of it. In 1985, there was a bookstore clerk in Washington, D.C. named Steve Brown. And Steve Brown liked this writer named Richard Bachman.
Oh,
and he was like, this guy writes a lot like Stephen King. And he started, like, looking up the stuff. And he went to, like, the Library of Congress and looked up the publishing records. And then he, like, called the publishers and he was like, what should I do with this information?
Oh.
Like, I gotcha.
He's the one who ruined Richard Bachman for Stephen King.
Yeah. But you know what? Stephen King respected it. He, like, called him and he was like, you know what you should do with this information? You should write an article. And, like, he was like, I will give you an interview. Like, you can talk to me.
Although I do know Stephen King is very salty about, or was very salty about his Richard Bachman identity getting revealed so soon. Because it was very shortly after. Like, he was hardly writing as Richard Bachman before he got exposed. Yeah. And he was mad about it. He, like, writes in the foreword of some of his Richard Bachman novels, there's, like, this thing, it's just like him going on a little mini rant about how mad he is about it.
Really?
Because he kills Richard Bachman off.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I guess he's dead. But then he's like, I have a few more stories. Richard Bachman's widow found these in a box.
Oh, I know. So cute. I love that he dedicates the first one to Bachman's wife, and the name that he gives the wife is the name of the person that he uses in the picture, like that person's wife. So, like, it's so funny. Also, I mean, you know, writers just do, like, have a style. So it does not shock me that someone that is, like, a true Stephen King fan, when they're reading something else that's written by him, is like, it just cracks me up. I did think it was very sweet that he, like, gave it an interview, though, and was like, why don't you publish an article? Like, you know, good job, basically. I would love to read the article that the guy did. The only other, like, sad thing that I discovered while I was looking that up, and so this is sort of like a tangential fun, and it's not fun, a tangential fact, and it's my last one, is that Richard Bachman wrote a book called Rage.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was about a school shooter, and then there was a school shooting in Kentucky, and they found that book in the kids' locker. And
I didn't know about that part. I know that Stephen King, after the shooting, he's like, we're taking that book out of circulation.
Yeah, he has to get it out of circulation. And it's got our movie facts.
Yes. So my first facts are cast related.
Is it me, or is Angelica Houston considered for casting in all the movies we love?
Literally all of them.
Because we love her, and she could fit in all of them.
I'm going to start with the people who are considered to play Paul Sheldon. So it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
William Hurt, Kevin Kline, Michael Douglas, Harrison Ford, Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Robert Dreyfuss, Gene Hackman, Warren Beatty, and Robert Redford.
I actually do think that Harrison Ford would have been a really good casting for this. And I am not usually for casting Harrison Ford because he always just plays himself.
He's kind of grumpy.
Well, yeah, just because he is.
Yeah.
And his personality just seems annoying to me. Like, I like all the stuff he's in. I enjoy it. But he's not someone that I'd want to, like, hang out with in real life. Oh, which I don't know if I said when I was saying my fun facts, but Misery was gonna be a Richard Bachman novel.
Oh,
And then the reason it wasn't is because while it was being, like, in the process of publishing, that's what the guy found out.
I mean, it's also, I wonder if that also changed, I wonder if he changed the ending at all, because one of the things that King has said in his books is that something that distinguishes the Richard Bachman novels from, like, traditional Stephen King novels is Stephen King believes that, like, in his books, like, most of the time, good comes out on top in most of his book. Richard Bachman's novels are not like that. They're much darker. I'm not like them. I'm not a fan. Every time I read them, I'm like, I especially hate The Longest Walk. That one is gross. I hate it. I'm like, why is this? I get no answers. Just dystopia. But anyway, so back to the casting. Paul Sheldon does get cast by James Caan, and he said that he was attracted to the role because it was unlike other characters he did, because playing the part would mean him being totally, like, reactionary as a character, stuck in bed. Like, also that was, like, torture to shoot. He spent, like, weeks just, like, laying in a bed. He said it was awful.
Yeah.
There was also quite a few people thought of for Annie. Mm-hmm. Like Nadine said, Angelica Houston and Bette Midler were both considered.
Yeah, Bette said later, too, that she was like, I was stupid for turning that down.
Well, I mean, when Kathy Bates was on to win the Oscar, you're like,
I know. Good for her. Love to see it. Kathy does great. I bet that Bette would have done really well.
Oh, I
too,
do.
honestly.
I also agree.
I kind of wish I could see it.
In an
like,
alternate reality.
Yeah, we're like, I don't want to get rid of this. I just also want to see that.
Yeah. But yeah, when Kathy Bates was cast, she was mostly a stage actor and was relatively unknown to film audiences. Upon Stephen King seeing Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes, he immediately became a Kathy Bates stan. He wrote his book Dolores Claiborne with her in mind. Like, that character, in his mind, that is Kathy Bates. Like, she would be playing it. And she does go on to play her in the film version.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either, but someone I follow on TikTok said they really enjoyed that movie. And that Kathy Bates does an incredible performance. So he goes on, when writing the screenplays for the original Stand TV thing.
Miniseries.
Yes, miniseries. He changes the character of Ray Flowers to be female instead of male for Kathy Bates.
Oh. And Ray
is the radio show host. It's like, I think it's an uncredited role too. I think we even mentioned it in our episode of The Stand. We're like, oh, Kathy Bates is in it. But
there are just so many people in The Stand.
There are many people. So one of the things that happened while shooting is James Caan showed up to shooting hungover. Director Rob Reiner told him that there was an issue with, like, the scenes in the lab and that they, like, had to, like, redo them. But then Caan found out that it was his fault that they were all terrible. And he paid to make up for the money that the studio lost.
Yeah. So wild.
Kathy Bates did have a little bit of a hard time working with James Caan because they clashed over acting methods. James Caan doesn't really like to rehearse that much. And Kathy Bates is...
used to theater.
Exactly, with lots of rehearsals. Yeah. And she goes to the director and she's telling him about how frustrated she is about, like, how he's not, like, really, like, engaging as much as she would like in the rehearsals.
Yeah.
And he's just like, use that frustration in your character.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to be
Yeah.
frustrated with them.
Jack Nicholson was also offered to play the role of Paul Sheldon, but he passed on it because
He was like, Stephen King already hates me.
yeah, but it's probably not just because Stephen King didn't like The Shining, the film version. Critics hated it too. They came out, and at the time it was panned. It was nominated for a Razzie for Worst Director.
I mean, it was a commercial success, though. Like, it did
Not initially.
fine financially.
Not initially.
It had, like, one of the bigger opening weekends, and it was opening during Empire Strikes Back.
It was critically panned. The reviews are all like, it doesn't do justice to King's work. Like, it is like.
That's the problem when you read the book first.
Like I said, Kathy Bates won the Oscar. She also won a Golden Globe. When she picked up her Oscar, made a humorous comment and said, "I would like to thank Jimmy Can and apologize publicly for the ankles." But some of the other accolades that the film got, it's like, it grossed over $10 million on its opening weekend against Home Alone. It was nominated for Best Horror Film at the Saturn Awards, but lost to Silence of the Lamb.
Oh, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah. King himself stated that Misery is one of his top favorite film adaptations. And in 2003, Annie Wilkes was ranked number 17 on AFI's 100 Heroes and Villains list.
Which one?
My next category, Hobble Hobble.
How many more categories do you have?
Just like 2.
Okay.
When Annie does the hobbling, that's different from the movie, different from the book. In the movie, she puts a block between his ankles and sledgehammers them the wrong way. In the book, she cuts off his leg and cauterizes it. Or cuts off his foot, just his foot.
Yeah.
And
It
cauterizes
is confusing, at least, like, yeah, I had to, like, go back when I was reading it.
But the scene was changed because they thought there would be too much gore with the cutting off the foot. The screenwriter was kind of upset with that. He really wanted to keep it in the way it was. But then upon seeing the scene, like, he was like, oh no, this is better, actually. For the scene, the fake legs were molded with gelatin with armatures put in them so that when they broke, it looked like actual, like, ankles breaking.
Yeah.
And James Caan's legs were hidden, like, they cut holes in the mattress and he put his legs in, it's like knee deep.
Makes sense.
Where they were down under there.
Yeah. They did a great job on all the practical effects.
Yeah, his legs looked nasty.
Yeah.
'Cause in the book-
But still real.
Yeah, in the book, the way he describes them when he first sees them, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh. They cut the lawnmower scene where Annie kills a
the, young police guy.
a young police officer by running over him with a lawnmower multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And Kathy Bates was reportedly disappointed that they cut the scene, but they cut it because Rob Reiner was afraid audience would laugh at it.
Hard to say if I haven't seen it.
I mean, I've seen a couple of things where people have been run over or had something run over by a lawnmower type of thing, and every time it was horrifying.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it not being horrifying because it's awful. One time, one of those incidents was in Mad Men. Some guy's in the office and his foot gets run over by a lawnmower out of nowhere.
In the office?
Yeah, because it's an ad agency, so they have the lawnmower and they're messing around with it. And they're drunk because it's the 50s and they're at work. Guy loses his foot. And I was horrified.
Yeah.
There's a lot of horrifying things in that show, to be honest.
I think that people shy away too much from, oh, that might get a laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It's also okay if it got a laugh.
I know.
I don't know why that's a problem.
I know. Sometimes you laugh when something's just so horrifying.
Yes.
Because you don't know how else to react.
Yeah. I love it.
And this thing I read just didn't, really jive with that other thing, but apparently but I saw this multiple places. Apparently before the hobbling scene, Kathy Bates cried before it because she was so distressed by the, level of violence. And I was like, but she wanted to do the lawnmower scene?
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense.
And I think that she had read the book. And so, if you've read the book, you're not pressed about that scene.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm just breaking his ankles?
Yeah.
No blood?
You're welcome.
The Body, which becomes the movie Stand By Me, was also directed by Rob Reiner. And Rob Reiner's production company is called Castle Rock, named after Stephen King's
Ew.
fictional city.
That's cute.
Or town.
Yeah, in one of the interviews I saw, Stephen King mentioned this as being one of his favorite adaptations. And Shawshank, too.
Yeah, and because of the success of Stand By Me, because Stephen King really liked Stand By Me as well, he trusted Rob Reiner to take Misery and make it into a film.
Yeah.
He was like the only one he trusted with Misery, in fact. Another just miscellaneous fun fact, Rob Reiner is the helicopter pilot in the movie.
Oh, dang. I was not looking at that helicopter.
No.
Aw. You should have been looking.
I forgot. Okay, it's all at the end of my list. It's like one line.
I for sure thought that Stephen King had a cameo in this, because when they discover his car, then there's all those reporters standing there. That one reporter really looks like Stephen King from behind. But then he wasn't when he turned around.
Also, apparently the manuscript that Annie burns, Paul Sheldon's book,
Yes.
is actually, on close-up inspection, an article about Cameron Crowe and his amazing screenwriting. And it talks about his movie, but mostly offers praise for Say Anything.
Oh, man,
the article mentions John Cusack
I love how much time
and his
people
previous roles, The Sure Thing, which was likewise directed by Rob Reiner.
I live for obsessed people like this. They get it. I love it. And honestly, not that much effort. All they did was pause it and read.
What does that say?
I love it. I love it. So good.
That's
what you get, though. You gotta have an intern write real stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like in 7.
Exactly. Oh, so good. Such a nightmare, I'm sure.
Yes.
But it's those details that, keep us talking about it today.
Yes.
Oh, man. Scares.
Towards the end, and Paul is waiting for Annie to get back from... She stormed off. And so he's just in bed. He's just waiting there. He goes to sleep eventually. And then, boom, she's there. And then, boom, there's a needle in his arm. And he's like, ah!
It does. It happens so fast.
Yeah, that got me a little bit, I think. I was like, oh gosh, what is she doing there?
Yeah. So for me, I honestly think it was when she came in dragging the grill. And I knew exactly what was going to happen, because that one actually holds somewhat close to the book.
Yeah.
And not exactly by any means, but close enough that I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I was just so stressed for him. I don't know, there was just something about the way that they did it that I felt sick for him. I was like, this is just cruel. This is so mean.
He's finally created, something that he feels proud of. He's like, this is what I've been waiting so long to write.
Yeah.
And it's his only copy. In the book, what stands out to me, and it's been a while since I read it, but what stands out to me still is her first outburst. When, she just,
It's, immediate. Second page.
Well, she just, attacks him when he's, in the bed so vulnerable. And, I feel like one of the big differences is, this Annie isn't as violent as book Annie, I think.
Oh, not at all. Yeah. This Annie's tame.
Yeah, this Annie is, manageable.
Yeah. I guess one thing that maybe got me was, I think it's when the paper thing is happening, I think. And so he, thinks that he sees the tide turning, and so he, tries a different route, and he's like, oh, getting mad won't help any of this, or whatever. And then, I think that's when she, breaks his kneecap with the hammer. And just, I think the idea that, you cannot outsmart your way out of this. You cannot control her.
Yeah,
you are not smart enough to manipulate her, because you have not figured her out as fast as she has figured you out.
Yeah, and she's unpredictable. And it's the things you think that a normal person would be think would be reasonable. In the movie, there's the issue with the paper, and he's like, everything was great, Annie, but the paper, I'm just telling you from experience that this is gonna smudge. And he even shows her, and a normal person...
Which is a very easy fix.
Yeah.
It literally takes her 30 minutes at most to go get that paper.
I know, and a reasonable person would be they might get mad at first, I got you the most expensive paper, but then you show them, literally it'll smudge, if I'm going through it, it's, it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
And so a reasonable person would be oh, okay, you see the smudge, okay, I get it. I'll get the new paper. But she flips her lid, even after everything's been reasoned out to her, she's still just you don't respect me, you don't care about me, you don't appreciate any of the things I do for you, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's also because she already knows that he's getting out of the room. And so I think in her mind, whether or not that paper smudges, she's like, you just want me out of the house. Like, you're just up to, you don't appreciate everything.
But like,
how is she gonna build the trust?
She's still crazy.
Yeah, she cried. I would say not a crazy scary book, which is wild to think of because it is very scary, everything that's like it should be very scary,
and it is like pretty like rooted in reality.
Oh yeah,
compared to a lot
time.
of other things, like could happen.
Yeah, I will say, oh my gosh, when he describes that CPR and like her breath, like horrifying. So maybe
gross.
that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's like just like a very like claustrophobic book. Like everything that happens in it is like so realistic and so gross at the same time. You're like, oh, I hate this.
Yeah,
I hate it.
That's the other thing, is this Annie's house in the movie too clean?
Well, I think it's like clean at first. It's like when she goes through her depressive state where it becomes a disaster.
Well, yeah, and it's not shown enough in the movie. And then when she's in the other state, she like isn't even using utensils. She's just scooping ice cream out of a bowl with her hands.
Yeah. And you only really see like one actual like depressive episode, and then like a little bit towards the end, like when she's like, well, we have to end it, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
We're both gonna die. That's how it's gonna end.
She's like, don't be scared while she's holding a revolver and a needle.
And that's also another like one of the big differences between the movie and the book is the movie takes place over like 4 months, and then isn't the book like 6 months or something like that? It's like a lot longer.
I guess it's definitely a lot longer.
Yeah, because it goes through almost all of winter through spring. It's spring by the time he gets away.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I have not put together that it was 6 months, but it's definitely months. Like, it's definitely quite a long time. You know what was another sort of scary part of the book? Was right at, like, the end, too, when, like, he gets back to his apartment. And, I mean, he just keeps seeing her everywhere. Yeah. But I did sort of, like, when she was, like, standing there in her nurse's uniform and the axe, I could, like, see it. And I was like, she's gonna get you, Paul! Like, how could you be living at the same place? Of course she knows where you live!
Because, like, clearly she's not dead.
I know. Which I did feel for him, too, that I was like, what a head game to have just written someone out of death. Like, just been like, not, sometimes people aren't dead.
Yeah.
And to have this, like, terrible, crushing PTSD.
Yes, just so bad. I think that's also something I really like about the book, is, like, sometimes Stephen King does this a lot, where you get to the point where you're like, the book's over.
Mm-hmm.
Things we're happy. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh no, it keeps going. Why are there so many more pages? And if it's a Richard Bachman novel,
just be ready.
Just as bad. It's bad. Things are not going to go good. But, like, in the King one, sometimes it's okay, and it's just, like, more detail. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess we get more detail about the happy ending. But it's not always the case. And you're always,
no.
Like,
I know him well enough to know that, like, either one could be true.
Yeah. And so you're just... I really like the attention to detail and, like, going, like, past, like, just getting away from Annie and going into, like, he's at his home and, like, he's, you know, like, up and walking around again, but, like, he's still, like, afraid all the time.
Yeah.
That Annie's gonna come back.
Yes. Yeah, it was very well written. He's very talented.
So talented.
You know, I really think, too, that was part of what I was thinking. So I listened to an interview with him today while I was trying to get my book facts together, and one of the things he said was that, like, he thinks that some of the people who do the best, like, spend the least time thinking about things too much ahead of time, like, plotting them out and stuff. And I think that's true because he writes his books so fast. Yeah. And, like, the themes come through. And the truth is, you don't have to sit around and think, oh, I want to talk about this African bird, and then I want her to call him Dirty Bird, and I want it all to be about freedom, and it's all connected to freedom and control. You have to sit down and map that out, because you will naturally think it. It will naturally come through. And he's just so gifted.
Yeah. He's so talented.
Laughs.
In the movie, the sheriff and his deputy wife.
They're so cute.
I love them.
Yes.
It's so cute.
Her trying to get frisky.
Oh my gosh.
When she on deputy time?
Every scene with them is solid gold, and I love it. And
it's so good.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
Which made his death so tragic. I was so sad.
It was terrible. And it happens so fast.
So fast.
Crazy fast. You know, I almost wish that had been filmed in a different way. For some reason, I think it would have been more scary and interesting if you had, like, taken it from Annie's perspective. And instead of us seeing them and then being shocked that she does that, instead us hearing them talking and hoping that somehow he'll turn around or something while we see her walk up with this gun. Like, it was, very sad.
Yeah, so sad.
So any particular part with them that was, like, your favorite laugh?
Scene in the car is so good. And then, like, when they're, like, he's just, like, reading all the misery novels in bed.
So cute!
It's so cute. She like ribs him about reading them, and
you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like what the couple would be like in Bone Tomahawk when it was that deputy, and he's like, I like to read in the bath, but I get my books all wet. So cute. Oh, I love a cute old couple that loves each other.
No.
They had just the right amount of spice in their marriage.
They did. There's that spice again.
Okay, the darkest thing that both Amanda and I laughed at during the movie, so it is what it is. When they were going through her serial killer scrapbook, and it said, another baby, in like,
on top of an article,
in can writing.
On top of a cutout article about how she had murdered a baby.
Yeah. Another one.
Another one.
Not the first.
Another one.
She horrified. Liberace was pretty funny.
Oh my gosh, that
laugh.
was so good. I'm gonna put on Liberace.
Do you like him? Oh man, and then honestly, I think Another Baby was like my favorite laugh just because it's so weird. But I did also love when she was like, that penguin faces due south. It's such a crazy thing to say.
Faces due south.
And just casual as can be.
It's not like, no, I always pointed towards the phone. No,
due south. What are you, some type of chump where you don't know which way due south is?
Oh, my compass at home.
I don't know. Oh gosh, well if you're Annie, you're always at home. Pretty much.
Except for when you're going to the store to get
the laughing place.
The laughing place. And don't forget the paper.
Book, if you're book Annie.
Yeah. I mean...
Yeah, I think this one has it that just doesn't get talked about.
Yeah.
That's the
It's not
trouble. It's very tough in movies to...
Yeah. A book, you can make as many billion of pages you want.
Exactly.
A movie, you...
Did you have a laugh from the book?
I think...
How long ago was it that you read it?
Multiple years. At least 2. I would say it's not really funny at all. But in the book, I think one of the fun features of it, and because I actually read the physical copy of it, is when he writes, when he's writing the Misery book, it's in a different typeface, and it has the missing letters.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah. And it has, like, handwritten in the ends. Because Annie handwrites in the ends for him.
Yeah. The T's at the end, too.
Yeah, because of...
I love when she's, like, all
starts falling
upset about
apart.
it, too, and she's like, I should have gotten you a better machine.
And then I think eventually there's a part where he has to go to handwriting, I think. And when she's mad at him, there's, like, parts where there are, like, where she doesn't fill in the ends and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, man. I will say, when I was reading the book, when she gets that tax bill, and she's so angry, I was, like, relatable. I was like, I feel this. Which I will say, too, when I read the book, I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this writer has such Virgo energy. Like, Paul is definitely a Virgo, because he is, like, dying to explain to her all the drudgery that goes behind writing, even though he knows she gets angry if he does. But he's still like, so when you have a plot point, and she's like, I'm gonna smash your leg. And he's like, this paper smudges. Like, it's such Virgo energy.
He is, like, so, like, kind of arrogant in that way, where he's just like...
That's why Harrison Ford could have played it.
Yeah, because he, even though he's in, like, critical peril, he's still very much himself.
Oh, yeah.
He's still kind of a dick the whole time.
But in a weird way, it's beautiful. Because she could have destroyed himself. You know, like, he is, though.
Yeah.
Which I will say, it's interesting to me because while I was reading it, all I could think about was how much he felt like a Virgo to me. And then when we watched this movie, I commented to Amanda like multiple times. I was like, she feel like a real Leo. Like, when she was like, you're gonna have to change it. It's no good, but you can keep the part where you name the gravedigger after me.
That part is so funny. She's like, I want to be the gravedigger.
Very Leo energy. And when poor little baby sheriff comes and she's like, if you can't be alone with yourself, if you're not fit company for yourself, then you're not fit company for anyone. I was like, man, I say this all the time.
She do.
Truth is truth. But my favorite laugh from the book was at one point, he's tried again with like the writing of it because you can't cheat, gotta play fair, and he's like, all right, should I go on writing? And she's like, yes, I'll kill you if you don't.
Yeah, I'll kill you if you don't.
Or if you do, either way, we got our bases covered. I also loved in the book, he because in the movie his wheelchair fits just fine in and out of the thing, but in the book his wheelchair was too big and he scuffs stuff.
Yeah,
and
tight squeeze.
Yeah, and it's a real struggle. And he spends so long in his like decrepit state trying to scrub up those scuff marks, and then eventually it comes out that like she knew the whole time, like from the day that he got out of the room, she was aware that he had been getting out of the room. And he just laughs to the point of tears when he's thinking about himself scrubbing up those scuff marks. And I was like, it is really funny.
I know. Oh, man.
So least favorite parts there?
I mean, it's like all like the gross stuff. And then just like, I would say like the parts where he, at least in the book, where he's describing the like pylon. Mm-hmm. And, like, how, like, keeps going, like, what is, like, the water keeps coming in and keeps going, like, getting, I don't know, it's just a kind of, like, boring and, like, depressing. I don't know. Paul is, like, on the drugs, and he feels like it's just, like, a wave of, like, going in and out of, like, being there and, like...
Makes sense. How about for the movie?
I don't love the sheriff dying. Especially when they made him so cute. And, like, also the best cop. The best small-town cop that ever was. Because most small-town cops... not so good at the detectiving because they don't gotta do it ever.
When they found that car there must have been a part of him that was like, so if I had just like kept walking down the snowbank like 10 more feet. But what can you do? He was up to his waist.
Yeah.
That was so cute between him and his wife. You need some help? No, I'm having a great time.
So cute, so tragic.
Okay, so my least favorite part in the book, well, okay, so I have two least favorite parts in the book, and it's that he drinks his urine so fast. Guys, she hadn't been gone 2 days. And not even, I think he had hit like 40 hours, and he was like so gross. I don't understand. And then also what I didn't like about the book in general is it reads like someone who it reads like the person who wrote it understands addiction but does not understand pain. Because when you're on pain, it's okay to take pain medicine. And that part never really gets talked about. And I get that she's giving him too much intentionally to get him addicted. But, like, in the book, I mean, from the jump, from the moment he's coherent again, he is, like, addicted. Yeah. And not just physically addicted, but, like, mentally addicted. And I don't know. It just, I wasn't a fan of the way that read. In the movie, I didn't like that they sort of took out the addiction part, basically.
Yeah. He got over the pain real quick.
Yes.
Like, he would, like, look like he was, like, I mean, that's why he didn't win the Oscar for Best Actor.
I actually thought his acting was pretty good.
I know, but there wasn't enough pain shown.
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually think that his acting was better than what was written for him was. Like, I think that the problem lays in the screenplay on his end. And then I actually think the opposite for Kathy Bates. So this will probably be a hot take.
Oh.
But I do, because I'm sorry, but there are moments where she is, like, conversing like a totally normal person. And I just don't think that the character of Annie Wilkes is ever actually capable of that. I think she's the type of person where, like, anyone that speaks to her comes away from that conversation like, ooh, like, out. Just gets, there are just certain people that when you speak to them, you just get an iffy feeling. And I think she was one of those.
Yeah, I definitely think in the book she's definitely like that.
Well, and I think she's written like that in this.
Yeah.
But I think Kathy Bates, it's almost like she can't help herself but to be like
Normal?
a little cutie pie.
Oh.
Like sort of charismatic.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like when she opens the door to the sheriff, she's acting like a little sweetheart. Like, and I just don't other than like I think the only times that that Annie would act like that is like in sort of like a childish type way. Like I don't think that she would know how to like put it on the way that like adults do.
I mean, early Annie in the book had to at least been able to do that for a little while. Like, I mean, she made it through nursing school. She got married.
Well,
and
but
like,
her like she has something going on. She has a mental illness clearly that's untreated, and it is getting degenerative. Like it is degenerative clearly, because that's why she forgot to pay her taxes this year. It's getting worse and worse. So I don't know what she was like during nursing school. Didn't she have to like kill off one of the people to graduate with honors?
when I was just like reading to see about like, because she was married in the books and like in this too. Like,
yeah.
But it talks about how Paul suspects, because there's articles clipped out of like how like I think like her father died or something, and how a roommate of hers died, and like they're both like kind of suspicious, and he like suspects that she killed both of them.
Yeah, I think it's like that they felt it's like another staircase
Yes,
killer.
Staircases again.
Yeah,
yeah, and
tripped over laundry at the top. I think her husband did, or father.
Yeah, and then there was the cat, and the other
Yeah.
one. They're like, oh, she tripped over the cat.
Cats do be. Let me tell you, I could see that being the way I go.
But if that's how I go, that's how I go.
I didn't mention this in the fun facts, but Kathy Bates and the director decided on like giving her a little bit more backstory. They also, I know, they also,
Compared to the book, she's got plenty of
I don't know. This is what I read.
Okay.
That she was also molested by her dad,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what they added to her backstory.
Yeah, I will say, as soon as I heard the thing about the laughing place, to me that very much feels like somewhere that you were molested as a child that you keep going back to. It just has that ring to me. Except for the fact that she didn't grow up in Colorado. Like, so I don't know. It's just interesting to me. But I could see that. I think that is totally on the table. It would not shock me if King like agreed to that too. I was like, yeah.
Sounds right.
One thing that I did want to mention is that in the book you do find out that like she started killing people at least by the age of 11. Like there were these kids that I think were like her neighbors or something. I forget what her relation was to these kids, but it's like she kills 5 people in a fire. Like she sets a fire that kills 5 people when she's 11. Like just a child. You know what blows my mind in the book is how only after he sees that book and like sees how many people she's killed that he's like, oh, it's her or me. I have to either kill her or I'm gonna die. I was like,
Honey.
just now you've come to this conclusion?
Denial ain't just a place in Egypt, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, like, really, like, the second you're in a location that is not the hospital, you're kidnapped.
Yeah.
You're like, I should be in the hospital. Why am I not there?
Yeah.
You've been kidnapped.
She's driving to town.
You've seen her face?
Yeah.
You're dead.
I know. Which that's in the movie. In the book, I will say, it's like, it's hard to even grasp the initial thing from the book because the book starts, like, the beginning of the book is like him being resuscitated after he's been like overdosed at her house. So like he's already been there for a time.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to be like, okay, what were you guys' like first few lucid interactions? But she's never normal. I mean, she like throws that soup in like the first few pages. Like it's crazy how quickly it happens.
Yeah.
This book really like starts. There's no 0. It just starts at 60.
I know, and it had been so long since I had read the book that like when I was like sending you that like audio copy, I was like, wait, this is how it starts? Because in my mind, it starts the way the movie starts. Like retroactively,
because the movie starts in a way that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know,
because it starts with him at the hotel. He's finished his book. He's getting a little drunk, and then he's going out to drive back to New York from Colorado in his Mustang.
Yeah, like an idiot.
Like
you know
an
how
idiot.
Mustangs handle great in the snow. We
Yeah.
all know this.
Nothing like a twisty, icy, snowy road and a Mustang and a little Dom Perignon.
I really wish that I would have watched the movie first because I like it okay, but I think I would have liked it a lot if I had watched it first. But it's just tough when you've read a book for something and then it's just tough not to like the whole time you're watching it be like, that's not how it goes. That's not right. What you're doing isn't right. Like it's hard to separate the two. But I think it's like a lot of the changes they made, I think had to be made. You know, it was the only way it was going to make sense on screen.
Cut for time.
Yeah. And there's certain things that you can beautifully explain and pan out in a book that you cannot do on a movie.
Yeah, like
because you're not in his head.
Yeah, you don't get those inner thoughts. And to do voiceover for inner thoughts, it's cheesy.
It's not good. No.
It's not cute.
Yeah.
It rarely works.
Rarely. I mean, sometimes. Every now and then. But very rare.
Yeah, normally it's like that person's hearing voices.
Yeah.
Like they're not okay.
It would be Annie's inner thoughts.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, man. All right, so favorite parts? You know what would have been another good, like, scare from the book? But it didn't scare me, but I could see it scaring someone. And honestly, I think it could have been done well as a scare in this part if they had chosen to keep the surgery part, is how when she comes in and she's, like, going on this long lecture to him, she, like, initially had said, like, pre-surgery shot or something like that. And that word just, like, keeps ringing in his head. And, like, and you could have just had him, like, repeat it a couple times and it would have been clear.
Surgery.
Yeah, it's like, what? Such anxiety. Oh, the rats were kind of scary too.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about the rats. There were no rats here.
No, she got a
Her
real
basement
clean
was
house
clean
here.
as a whistle.
Yeah.
And isn't her basement in the book? Isn't it more of a root cellar?
Yeah.
So that more rats. But this one was just
rats.
a basement.
Plenty
It was
of
concrete
rats.
ground. No rats.
Yeah.
Not a rat in sight. Cute pig. The cutest pig.
Such a sweet little baby Misery was.
So brown, so fluffy.
I wonder if she did have a phone. Like, just out of my own curiosity, because in the book and in the movie, you never find out if there's a phone on those premises. And I'm just curious.
I mean, it could have been one upstairs.
Oh, yeah. Man, in the book, she does not believe that he didn't go upstairs. He's like...
He's like, ma'am.
Yeah, I am so injured.
My legs.
My favorite part in the movie is when he starts writing and it is right in her mind. And so she gets so excited and she spins around. And to me, I was like, this is the Annie that I saw in the book. Like, this is the, like, childlike. I don't, it to me, it rang true. And I was like, there she is.
Man, there are parts that I like, but I can't think of, like, a part where I was like, that's my favorite. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, I like the part when the sheriff comes to the door and he's like, what can you tell me about Paul Sheldon? She's like, well, he was born, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, yeah, that part was great.
And, like, so, maybe that's it. Like, it's like, I think it's, like, good that, like, at the end when the sheriff does come, like, I don't know how she knew the sheriff was coming, because, like, right before the sheriff gets there, she, like, tosses Paul in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe he called.
Maybe. Yeah. On the upstairs phone. But she's, like, she's able to play it very smooth.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when he gets there, she's like, oh, well, I can tell you all about him. I'm his biggest fan. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, but anything after that, I don't know. Like, I'm so sad that he's missing. So sad to the point where I've decided I'm going to take over writing the Misery series now.
Yeah.
And I've turned the downstairs bedroom into an office. That's why I had to get the paper and the typewriter. Like, it all, like...
I've written 200 pages in 4 weeks.
I don't think it's very good, but the Lord told me to do it. So here I am, doing the Lord's work.
Now, okay, I'm, like, already forgetting the movie. After he kills her, how do people come? Or does it just end where he kills her and then it picks up with him eating with his editor? You, like, just watch this. It won't be in the book, because I'm asking about the movie.
No, yeah, he kills her and then they're in the restaurant.
Oh, okay. Because in my mind, I'm like, do you think he got in the car and drove off? Mm-hmm. His legs can't be working well.
No.
And those are scary roads.
Yeah.
Even in the springtime. Like, you're still in the mountains.
But I mean, maybe the sheriff had a radio?
Maybe. Okay, and then also just a big difference I don't want to forget to mention between the book and the movie is that in the book, he calls her my biggest, you're my number one fan, first. And then she, like, loves it and takes it on as her own. But, like, it's something that he says to her in a way to, like, placate her. Like, it comes to him as, like, okay, this is what we'll, like, why don't we make you this? And this seems like a good, but not too, like... I feel like the Paul in the movie is a lot flirtier. He's like, I'm ready to use my wiles.
But, like...
I don't know. I didn't feel that as much. I felt like in the book, he, like, you know, knew how, like, felt comfortable enough, like, talking to women. But I feel like in the book, he found this woman so repellent that he, like, could not bring himself to use that aspect until, like...
I mean, yeah, it's a fine line to tread, too, because...
You gotta be careful.
I mean, as women, we know. The second you're nice to a man, he's in love with you.
Oh, yes. It's pathetic.
So, I imagine someone as unstable as Annie wouldn't be much different.
Oh, yeah. And Annie in this movie, I mean, she really has the vibe of, like, that she's gonna expect him to be putting out eventually. Like, and that's not the vibe in the book. But yeah. And then this one, she, like, calls herself the number one fan. Interesting.
I wish someone would write the Misery series. Not Stephen King.
Oh man, all his sex scenes.
No, I don't need them.
Nightmares.
No, thank you. They're always at inappropriate times. I'm always like, this is not the time for this.
I looked it up just out of curiosity. He's a Virgo, but like right on the cusp of Libra, and his wife is an Aries. Amanda loves an Aries. That's funny.
Confidence.
They do. Okay, favorite parts in the book?
I don't know. I just love the detail because like even like now, like especially like I think because I like read it, it really like just was able to like paint a picture for me of like exactly what everything looked like. Paul's view out the window to the barn, to like her house, to like every little thing. Like I felt like I could see it, and I feel like it was pretty well replicated.
Oh yeah.
In this.
Yeah. Except
like,
for I would have liked to see the house dirty sometimes.
Yeah. But like, I don't like. I just love I love attention to detail. I love it because it painted the picture for me, and there was no question in my mind what things looked like, where things were. Like I wasn't like confused. Like I was like even knowing that the basement is supposed to be a cellar.
Yeah.
A root cellar and be like dirty and like scary with like rats.
So many rats.
Ugh. So I think that's what I like really love because I can still picture it like Paul looking out the window and seeing it like all snowy and like Annie like doing stuff in the barn and like like the room and like her pulling in the grill, like it's like so vivid to me. Yeah.
I know, and the way that they do the girls, like, it really, it feels just like the book.
Yeah.
Except for his reactions, which are not the same as they were in the book. In the book, he literally, like, holds on to the manuscript, like, to his chest. Like, he fights so much harder, and, like, she leaves him, like, unfed, no medicine, and he eventually, you know, caves, because, I mean, what can you do? But... Yeah. So sad. So I think my favorite part is, like, you know, obviously this is like we're watching someone's like survival instinct and like struggle for life, and it's interesting because at certain times, honestly, the addiction that he's formed is what he's fighting for, and that's sort of keeping him fighting for life. But then it changes to she reminds him about writing in this weird way, and then like he loves writing so much and it's this escape for him and he's loved it since he was a kid. And like there's this quote kind of like early on in the book where he's thinking to himself, and it's like if she didn't kill him she might kill what was in him, like that she might destroy that part of him. And then at the very end when he's back in his apartment, he like sits down to write, and he really doesn't expect to because like, you know, he's just really suffering with everything that she's put him through. but then he like sort of has this idea and he can't help but like sort of start on it, and then it's like boom, there he is, and he's in it. And I think that the phrase that they use is like that there's a hole in the page and that he falls through the hole, and it's like they use it way earlier on in the book and then they use it again at the end, and it was just nice to see that like he could get through it, that like he could use his creative outlet as like a crutch to help him stand during the toughest times. It was good. It was a really good book.
It is
as
good.
Always.
So good.
A man is talented, and it was nice to not have any creepy sex scenes.
Yeah.
Men do be loving to throw around the word rape about things that aren't rape.
I'll say this isn't related to anything, but in terms of the Dolores Claiborne book, I actually think King does a decent job of writing from a female perspective. Like
Really?
a lot of men, not good. Dolores Claiborne, I really appreciated, and because there's like a part in it where she's talking like it's like the whole thing's just like a ongoing interview about how she's suspected of murdering someone. And she goes on to talk about her relationship to this person who was her former employer. It was just this rich woman that she worked for. And my favorite part is that they just talk about, like, how, like, sometimes, like, as, like, just, like, in general, and, like, especially as, like, a woman, you just have to be a bitch. Like, that's just it. And I'm like, the more older I get, the more I'm like, I think I just am.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, I don't know.
Were there any other big differences you felt like between the book and the...
I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with just the time frame in which it all happened, and then like the level of violence again. It was just like not nearly as violent as the book is.
Yeah. Also in the book, so it's like the young, like, police type guy comes looking, and then like he even sees him out the window and like calls out to him.
All the close calls where he almost gets rescued.
Well, and he calls out something weird too. Like I forget, but like he might even call out African bird because like he's always thinking about that bird.
Yeah.
But then she comes up behind him with the axe and like axes him like 12 times and keeps saying there every time. But it's like eventually, so in the book, Annie, it's like everyone that knows her in that town knows that she's creepy. Like,
Yes.
she is someone who, like, was acquitted for a crime, but everyone knows she did it. Like,
Oh,
no
OJ.
one believes her innocence. And so, once it comes to light that this guy is missing, everyone thinks she did it. So, like, people start coming by her house, like, and so, yeah, eventually, like, once he does, it's easier for him to get found and get help because people have been coming by.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not she's not known in her town, but it doesn't seem like anyone has anything
They think
against
she's
her.
just normal, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, there's the Wilkes place.
Yeah.
Whereas he would have been like, there's the Wilkes place.
Yeah, there's the Wilkes place. Oh, that lady always causing a fuss.
Yeah.
Cause she be doing.
Oh, yeah, big fuss. You know what else, too, is like, it's in the book, so in the movie, she's stalking him, but in the book, she just, like, happens upon him.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to
Crazy.
think is, and I didn't even think about this really until we were watching the movie, but, like, whoever she had found in that car, she was going to do something like this, too. Like, they wouldn't have been writing a book, because they didn't have that talent, but, like, she wasn't saving that person. Like, there was never any part of her that was, like, trying to help.
Do you think? I wonder. Do you think she would have actually helped them? Like, if she had seen that it wasn't like, I don't know, someone she knew or Paul Shelton, it was just like some random person. You think she would have just left them, or do you think she would have saved them?
I think she would have taken them home. I think that she sees people as, like, playthings to a certain extent. I think that she thinks that she's the smartest person in the world and that she just does so many good things for everyone. No one appreciates her, and that's when they end up, you know.
That's when you gotta kill a baby.
Well, either they're a rat because they won't stop crying, or they're a poor thing because they won't stop crying. And there's Annie to, oh my gosh, that scene when she squeezes the life out of the rat. Wild times. Wild book. I would give the movie 3.8 penguin figurines facing due south.
You know, I was thinking about giving it a 3.5, but I'm actually going to give it a 4. I think that, well, 4 penguin figurines pointing do so.
Mm-hmm.
No other way, because that would be insane.
No, that'd be silly.
That would be insane.
You only do that if you want to get caught.
They're from the South Pole.
Yeah.
They need to be facing due south.
Yep.
Their homeland.
Yeah. These aren't like Santa's penguins.
Fake. I was thinking about bringing it a little bit lower just because it's like some of the punch is missing from the book, but like I think visually, just in the way like it is true to the book in like the setting at least, even though it's like filmed in the exterior shots, I think were filmed in like Nevada, which was crazy to me, like the spring. But I think it like I don't know, the performances are good, the set design is good, makeup and effects I think are good as well, and so I'll give it a 4. The book, I'd probably give it a 4.5 because I don't feel like it's like a perfect 5. I don't love it. Like
Yeah.
like it's not like, oh my gosh, greatest book I've ever read. I love it. Love the characters. Love everything. No, it's not like that because, like I said, Paul Sheldon is sort of a dick the whole time.
Oh yeah.
He's a little hard to root for sometimes, but you're like,
Yes.
I can't root for Annie. She's a baby killer.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So we got to root for Paul.
I know, because they are the only two people. It does. It feels claustrophobic when you only have the two people.
Yeah, and especially so much time spent in that room, barely getting out of the house, like, and just like
And if you're thinking, what, that police guy comes, well, he steps 1 foot away from his car and gets axed. Like, he's not in it.
things are not good. The descriptions are so vivid.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in it is so vivid. And I think that's what gets it so high. Oh, right. It's 4.5 girls who just want to have fun. Because that one girl doesn't want it that much. No, she just doesn't want it that much.
Oh, okay.
She only half wants to have fun.
She's like, I sort of want to have fun.
Yeah.
But, like, if we can stay home and have fun.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm up for, like, a board game night, but not, like, out to the club.
Yeah, exactly. We're only halfway to fun.
I would give the book 3.8 girls who just want to have fun.
Oh, same as the movie.
Well, 0.01 more. So, pay attention.
I thought you did 0.8 for both of them, though.
I thought I did 3.7 for the movie. I don't know.
We'll know.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. But because it's a very good book, but it's like all of his books are very good. And so then you kind of become on this sliding scale where I'm not just judging you as a book, but I'm judging you as a Stephen King book.
And I'm just looking at it as a book.
Yeah. And so I mean it's a great book. Like you should read it, anyone should read it. It's great. But is it one of my favorites of the Stephen King? No. Now we have to pick one. And it's the book.
It's the book.
So nice.
It's the book. It's the book.
I wonder if it'll ever not be the book. But yeah, it's the book. What can we tell you?
Yeah, it's so good. And like, honestly, I'm really glad I wound up reading the physical one because I really loved seeing this, like, the switch and, like, all of a sudden he's, like, typing and it's the bad typewriter with the missing keys and, like, the
so
handwritten
cute.
notes in it and things. It's just fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we think about Misery, both the book and the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Anna Howard Shaw Day if you're a 30 Rock fan.
I wonder if there's, like, Misery fan fiction, if, like, someone's taken and, like, written the Misery book.
Oh, I thought you meant of, like...
No! Because
I'm sure people have.
No! That's not what I want.
What if we got so famous someday that people wrote creepy, erotic fan fiction about us?
No! I don't want it.
Oh, man.
No. And again, no.
But what if it meant you were a millionaire?
I mean, I want to be a millionaire, but I don't need to know that exists.
I mean, it's not like we would ever read it.
No, we would not.
Yuck.
Never. Maybe if you give me $1 billion, I'd read it.
Yeah.
I mean...
Even 10 grand. I mean, but not if I'm already a millionaire.
Yeah, now I'm already a millionaire.
Now if I'm already a millionaire, then you gotta come in.
You gotta come in higher. Right now, sure. For $10,000, obviously.
Yeah, depending who's asking. Because I'm just thinking about some creepy.
Yeah,
bags.
how safe do I feel?
Yeah. I know. I'm actually gonna go ahead and take this off the table. I feel like the only people who would offer us this are people that we'd have to say no to. Oh man. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We'll see you next movie night, and don't forget, there are 259 days till Halloween.
Long time.
Bye!
Bye!
Oh. It's just weird to have it so far. I thought you were just moving it there for a minute.
No.
Okay, also too much rage though.
I said I don't want the fan sound.
Okay, well, I can't be expected to be listening all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Live from the clubhouse, it's Scary Movie Clubcast! Special Valentine's Day episode.
Yay.
We're filled with love. Oh,
Say your
this
name?
is... I was. As soon as we get together.
Hobbling scene in the film in which Annie break... Why am I saying all that? The hobbling scene is ranked as number 12 on Bravo's 2004 program, The 100 Scariest Movie Moments.
Thank goodness you pushed through. We gotta know what Bravo thought of it.
I know,
What
right?
would we have
What
done
would we
with
do?
Something funny. It's like sort of on this topic, but I just think you'd find it interesting.
What?
Okay, so like the thought of like taking something and like showing it and it being like horrifying versus it being like appropriate movie stuff. I was listening to Ben Stiller talk about Zoolander the other day, and you know the like dancing around gas explosion scene?
Oh.
He said that initially what they had done was like 2 solid minutes of like the fire drops and you see each one of them catch on fire and like dance and run around on fire, and like you basically watch them slowly die. And then he's like, but instead we went with like the explosion. And Conan's like, yeah, that's the difference between comedy and horror.
So it's a fine line.
Yeah. 59 days till Halloween.
Long time.
Well, it's Valentine's Day. So
Okay.
bye!
Bye!
I wish they could have seen our faces.